Welcome back, Warriors. Back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2. Going through a construction area here, but I figured I'd do a video driving to work today. Once again, thank you for all the subscriptions and likes and comments. And if you haven't, subscribe and like and comment. And I also have a donation button if you feel that that's something that I'm helping you with, and you can help me develop this channel more by donating. But the more important thing to me is getting information out to you guys and trying to kind of go through my experiences and try to help people along the way. And it sounds like that at least for a few cases we're doing that. So that's a good start. I want to try to reach as many people as I can, because I do think we're in kind of a revolution in many ways. But from a male perspective, I think it's time to get back to those vigorous warrior times, the Spartan times, the times where men were strong. And it's got nothing to do with females at this point. It's really more males. You know, it's the males talking about being strong and being strong. And it's really a case of, can you turn around a lot of that temptation society, the training, the brainwashing of ideas that you've had about, you know, how it's important to be weak and those type of things. I think that's a bunch of malarkey. I think that you need to kind of look and see, you know, being strong male means, you know, being self-controlled, having discipline, you know. And you know, the topic for this one, and I had a question on this, dealing with this. The topic for this one is called, "It's all in your perspective." Now, what do I mean by that? Well, we all kind of look at this journey and this whole idea of brahmacharya and retention in different ways. But it goes back to the idea of self-control. And it really depends on the perspective you're taking. Now, the perspective you're taking should be that you're going to be the best possible person you can be. And that you're going to be a strong physical, mental, and spiritual being that is going to be representing strength in our society to solve the problems or to battle the enemies that we face. And we face a lot of enemies, both in the physical and the spiritual world, that I believe. And a lot of those need to be things that we deal with, and so we need to have that strength. Now, perspective comes into play because of the way you look at things. Perspective and perception is similar in this case, with the idea that if you're coming from the perspective that you are basically looking at people as people and not looking at them as objects, you're going to be able to deal with this issue a lot easier and be able to retain a lot easier. So the idea, guys, is that when you're looking at your mindset, and I had to look at my notes for a second there, when you're looking at your mindset, you have a choice when you're looking at images and pictures to kind of look at saying, okay, I can look at this in a way of saying, okay, this is something that, you know, is getting me to the point where I want to procreate, but I have obviously no real female in front of me. And so basically what I'm going to do is just go ahead and release anyway. And that serves no purpose and nothing except a short-term gratification. But the consequences of that are very damaging. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, because we're told different messages in the media. And I just know from my experiences alone over the years that it is not a very good thing to do this, especially on a regular basis. In fact, I would go as far as saying that I think unless you're trying to go ahead and have children and procreate, I call that, with another person, another woman, you're not gonna, in my mind, it's not something that is gonna benefit you in the long run. It may feel good, the release may feel good for a few minutes, but I know that I have felt very guilty when it happened to me. I felt like that I had dropped the ball and I couldn't understand why. You know, and a lot of times that's when I would get sick, depressed, different types of things, and I could never figure any of this out until I started reading that Fountain of Youth book that I will talk about in one of my book reviews coming up, and also trying to look at how you look at brahmacharya and studied Sufism, all these things that I'm starting to study that looks like it. Now, I'm a person who's a very strong Christian person, However, I'm very open-minded to ideas that are very similar. And when you look at Brahmacharya, you look at Sufism, a lot of these ideas are similar in nature. And that's what I'm looking at. And the main thing is to be more godlike, coming more to God, understanding that you're not the God, but you're going to acquire things that God has given you. And I think one of those things is your level of being that you are, what's inside of you, inside the man and inside the woman. And I think the perspective you got to take is looking at people as people and trying to stay on your purpose, achieve your goal, and to focus on what is something that I can continue to work towards my goals. Your goal may be to make money, it may be to save people, from a disease, or save things from building things. You might want to kind of build a park, you may want to build a school, a building. All those things could be goals you have. But the idea is that you have to focus on your goals. Now, the temptation is great. You're just driving like I'm driving. You see lots of potential things that you're focusing on. But once again, it's your perspective. Now, when you walk down a street, drive down a street, the key to all this success, and this takes mental control, is to be able to look and focus on your goals only. If your goal is to make money, then consciously and subconsciously, due to this law of attraction we've talked about, you will see those type of things that will make money. Now, whether you pull the trigger or not goes back to that retention and the ability to be able to take a risk and go out and do something. However, when we see this type of thing, it's very important to realize that your strength is coming from the fact that you're no longer afraid, you're no longer anxious, and so if you see opportunity, you're going to take it. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but it gets you closer to the goal. So if you're on a goal of trying to make money, let's say $1 million this year, you're not going to focus on things that are going to get away from that. So that's why things like, having relationships with women, having relationships with men if you're a woman, all these things are not going to help you accomplish your goal. So you're not going to see those as easily. And so the more you're focused and in tune with your purpose and plan and those type of things and your goals, the less you're going to have the perspective of saying, okay, I see this beautiful girl, beautiful guy, all of a sudden now I'm going to get tempted into this, and I'm going to see these beautiful pictures, I'm going to go and watch this and watch that because it's harmless, it's not going to do anything to me, plus I get some fun and excitement. The trouble, guys, is that that's a poor, depressed way to live. If you're sitting there and all you're doing is watching videos, watching those type of things all the time, it really gets to the point where you're kind of destroying yourself within. And you don't realize it until it happens and you're in that addiction, and all of a sudden now you're not getting the same reaction with this type of picture. Now you're looking at other pictures, and this becomes more of a deep type of thing. And unfortunately, the terrible things can happen. And then you look at case studies of serial killers, all this kind of stuff. You see people, a lot of these people start off by watching these type of images and things like that, and then they go in, they want extreme cases because they're no longer, aroused by that kind of stuff. And this gets to be a sickening situation. And unbelievably, it's not just the males that are doing this, females are doing all this as well. And it's because they've lost perspective. And it's all in the perspective you have. You have to kind of decide that my perspective is not going to be one of just, the world of all these images, material things that I'm looking at. These are not things that are going to get me excited, but my growth from within to be able to say that, okay, I'm looking at this and trying to achieve my goals. If this is something that doesn't help me achieve my goals, then I need to move on. And I think you've got to make that decision. Don't allow people in your life that are going to be negative, they're going to drag you down and keep you away from your goals. And it's a perspective you've got to take to be able to do that. And I think in most cases, you have to kind of look to see, is this something that's benefited me or is it not? And there may be a case that you have somebody that's an interesting type person and you want to spend time with them and they're making you grow and they're benefiting you in some way. That's great. I think also getting married is wonderful if you find a person that's going to help you grow. Just to get married doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense either. especially if you end up looking at, someone who is not really someone that can kind of help you achieve your goals. All you're doing is achieving someone else's goals. That's not going to work either. So back again, finish up a little bit here. As you focus on this, the idea that you want to really focus on is looking at the perspective you take. And as you look at this, perspective is what matters. Don't look at things like, okay, the what I see on the outside is what matters, because that's going to destroy you faster than anything. I don't care if you're dealing with making money your god, or making your the image is your god, or putting women on pedestals. All these type of things hurt you in the long run. They're not going to help you. They're going to end up destroying you. Okay? So a little bit of that, it was a question dealing with perception and how do you look at things, and I wanted to kind of address this a little bit the best I could to focus on this. But the key is not going to kind of look at pictures and those type of things as the end all to getting excitement. That's why I don't watch movies anymore. That's why I don't really watch, unless it's something I really like. I don't watch a lot of sports either. I don't focus on a lot of imagery like that anymore, because I realize the effect it can have on you. And even sitting and watching all day, football games, you get tired of that, and all of a sudden you just feel like you're missing out on something. And I think at my age especially, I want to go out and experience things. And I tell you, I get a lot more excitement and interest in talking to people. And maybe it's because we had this health situation for the last year or so. But to me, it's more exciting to do that and to kind of look in people's eyes and get that kind of a respect and attraction. That to me is a lot better type of thing than just sitting there watching a bunch of people running around on TV and pictures. This is the reason why they call this television programming, gang. Television programming means you're really kind of being programmed in a certain way, and that's no longer what I'm doing. So I'm trying to stay away from that. All right, so enough of this for today. We'll go back with another one soon. Until next time, battle on, Warriors.